One thing I did do late at night was watch that link you sent me.
Oh,
the Ghostbusters.
Yes.
We're the Ghostbusters.
I'm Spencer. He's Tracy.
I'm Kong.
The original Ghostbusters.
Which, for those at home who don't know what we're talking about, before there was a 1984 film, which is one of my favorites of all time.
Sorry, Beckman. I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Just love
Me too. Yeah.
We are both in our 50s.
Yes.
And yeah, I guess nostalgia is a thing that starts to, it hasn't overwhelmed me yet, but it's amazing what it does. And especially the stuff from childhood. Like, I don't find myself thinking too much about 80s and 90s stuff, even though I was, prime of my life. But I often think of the 70s just because that was when I was a kid. And holy hell do I remember the Ghostbusters. So Chad just sent me a link to a YouTube video from 1975, an episode of Filmation, Lou Scheimer's Filmation. Back in the 70s, they were a big competition for Sid and Marty Krofft for doing like live action stuff for kids on Saturday morning. They shot 15 episodes of the Ghostbusters, according to the trivia, in like 9 weeks. There's like knocked them out, one every other day, boom, and they're just done. So that is how we got the great Larry Storch, the great Forrest Tucker, and a guy in a gorilla suit as our original Ghostbusters.
Bob Burns, I think, is the name of the guy.
Bob Burns, who was a very famous gorilla suit actor. I mean, they're trying to do like an update of like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein type of spooky, but not really, because it's all wacky and for kids. And it's these two guys. One's named Spencer, and the other guy's name is Kong. See, that's a flippity flu. The guy Forrest Tucker plays is called Kong, but the gorilla that's their assistant, his name is Tracy. Spencer and Tracy. Spencer Tracy. Come on, that's great. So they are independent investigators of the paranormal, and they get instructions like in a Mission Impossible type way from a character called Zero. They go to
So great.
I'm explaining this. They go to a junk shop where their new message will be waiting for them, and it's always in the form of something that they get out of the junk shop. In that episode, it was a little toy plane. Basically, the voice of Zero, by the way, is Lou Scheimer.
Listen carefully. Your next assignment involves the ghosts of Count and Countess Dracula.
Oh.
Lou Scheimer did a lot of voices for the cartoons and shows he did.
The Masters of the Universe.
So he just has a very recognizable voice. And then they do the Mission Impossible thing. This message will self-destruct in a couple of seconds, and then the thing will blow up. It always blows up in the gorilla's hands. Oh, by the way, the gorilla, Tracy, drives their jalopy.
He drives, yeah.
They have a 1920s-ish jalopy. It's so weird. All their stuff is retro, but it's supposed to be the modern day. And this is something I almost always forget. You watch any of these Krofft shows from back then, or these Filmation shows, the heaviest lifting in that show is the laugh track. Holy crap. They are shoving it down your throat. They're like, kid, laugh at that. That was a joke.
Yeah.
And they shot it on a soundstage with no one else around.
Yeah.
So you get cartoony versions, in this case, Dracula. I don't even know who this character actor is, but yeah, he's an old senile dude. And he keeps ending up biting a tree.
My fangs are stuck on the tree.
And then it pulls out his dentures.
It's so surreal. Like, oops. That first scene cracked me up because she's great. I mean, they're all great.
Sure.
Dina Dietrich, I think is her name. She was.
You did the research.
It's not nice to fool Mother Nature.
There's some adult innuendo in the show, too. She goes,
Your bite is very strong. Perhaps there's some life left in your fangs after all.
and she goes,
You can say that again.
Yeah. We are going to have elderly vampire sex. And it's one of those chattering teeth things that he's holding. He's like, which doesn't even have fangs.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, guys. Those are supposed to be his teeth. And it was weird watching this. It's the first time probably in 40 years that I've watched an episode of the Ghostbusters, but it all came back. Forrest Tucker is on autopilot. And I do remember that. I mean, Forrest Tucker, very funny guy. And of course, they worked together in F Troop famously. They're like the comedy backbone of F Troop.
Hey, Garden.
But this is years later, and Forrest Tucker looks like, give me my check at the end of the day, okay?
It's the only castle. If the Draculas aren't staying there, squirrels don't like acorns. Will you cut that out and stop?
Larry Storch is Larry Storch is there. He's there to play.
It's a shame that one of us doesn't have an accent.
Absolutely capital idea, what? That should solve our little problem. I once saw a Basil Rathbone picture.
Just go take care of it.
He's funny, and he's Larry Storch. All I want, all day long.
Bob Burns in that suit. Like, he's so good. His body language and everything.
Yeah, that was why he was the specialist. Not only did he make the really good suits, but he actually studied simian, like, walking, and so I'm like, yeah,
no wonder.
Bob Burns is great in it, and the whole gag is that Tracy the gorilla not only drives, he doesn't speak. I mean, there's a whole thing about I'm teaching him to talk.
Let's show him, Trace. It's on top of the building, and it's called a roof. Who is the greatest baseball player of all time? Roof.
There's a whole hat rack, and he always picks different weird hats off the hat rack. So you got a gorilla wearing a wacky hat. But the thing I remembered is whenever they go to the file cabinets, that gag of like he goes for one, it won't open, then another one opens, and it's always like him trying to grab the right one that'll open and then getting frustrated. I was like, I remember that. The file cabinets would jump out randomly. He's like, oh, that's the one I need. No, oh, it's closed.
Yeah, okay. He can't get it to work and he starts crying.
Yes, that's really funny. He's like going, I can't handle this. And it's like, all right, that's good. But it's just so goofy, and it really is weird slapstick.
What's funny is that I did not remember the show. And this is how I may have been on a different channel those mornings.
I somehow managed to watch all the channels, and I don't know how. I saw every show. I think probably my Saturday mornings, I just stood. I mean, again, you had to because we had the dial. So I think I was just like chunk, 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 chunk.
Yeah,
chunk, chunk.
the commercial would come on. You go to a different channel. Yeah.